college football storylines to follow in the year 2026. 2026 college football is going to be a little different than it feels like prior seasons because of things like the legislation that we have going through the Senate right now for the Save College Sports Act. We've got a brand new reigning national championship or champion in Indiana, who essentially has never climbed to this part of the mountain before. We've got coaching changes, we've got portal changes. So what are the big storylines that I'm looking at going into the 2026 college football season? The first is the Big Ten really going to four-peat for national championships? Is the SEC going to let that happen? Because the past 3 years, they've let it happen, and I don't want to say it wasn't close, but it felt like it wasn't close. 2023, Michigan wins the national championship. 2024, Ohio State wins the national championship. In 2025, obviously last year, Indiana came through and just bulldozed over everybody in winning their first national championship. I think it's their first. I don't want to misspeak there, but I think it's their first. Before these last 3 national championships, the SEC won the 4 before that and 13 of the previous 17 from 2005 to 2022. If the Big Ten comes through and they win a 4th national championship in a row, they solidify themselves at the top of college football. I still, and I'm probably going to get some flack for saying this, I still don't think that they're the best conference in college football. I think they're the most top-heavy conference in college football, and their top 4 teams can go up against anybody and beat anybody in the country. SEC, I think, is still the best conference top to bottom in the country. They are a little bit more in towards the mean or the median now, meaning they don't have those top-tier elite standout, just throw the ball, run the ball, defense all over you teams like you're seeing in the Big Ten. But again, their bottom third and their middle third are going to be not light years ahead. They're going to be well ahead of the bottom third and the middle third of the Big Ten. So every single week is still a competition in the SEC. Every single week you still have to go in. You have to play your best football to make sure you get out of there. Whereas in the Big Ten, you can go and you can play Northwestern. You can play your 70% game, and you can get out of there with a pretty affirmative win. But if we get to the point where the Big Ten wins 4 national titles in a row, they really solidify themselves as the top dogs in college football. And it's up to the SEC to go and to take that back from them at that point, in which it's going to take multiple years of consecutive national champions to do so, which I don't know if the SEC has the ability. I think they have the ability to do it again, but it seems that nobody in the SEC is taking that next step forward like they are at Miami and trying to get better, like they are at Ohio State and just bringing in NFL coordinator after NFL coordinator to keep this program running. It seems like Georgia's and Alabama's and Texas's and all of them, they're trying their best, but they're not pushing the right buttons at the right times. And really, they're fielding an elite team, but maybe they're not fielding as elite of a coaching staff. I don't know what the exact problem is, and I'm definitely not the expert to diagnose it all. But what I can say is, if the Big Ten wins another national championship, making it 4 in a row, they solidify themselves as the top dog in college football, and there's no question about it. The second storyline that I'm looking at going into the 2026 college football season is Curt Cignetti in Indiana. Are they going to repeat, and I'm not saying repeat as a national champion, but are they going to repeat in having as much success as they've had over the last 2 years, or was this a flash in the pan? Was last year just a one-off flash in the pan? It's not going to happen again. And what I mean by this is, let's look back a handful of years now and go back to 2019 LSU. 2019 LSU, arguably the greatest college football team ever assembled. Ed Orgeron comes into the 2020 season and expectations are sky high. People have LSU in their top 5 to top 10 nationally. Everybody's talking about how great they're going to be. Obviously, you got the COVID year coming. Jamar Chase doesn't come back, but still, they should have a good enough team where they're going to be projecting the top 5 to top 10. And they come in and they fall flat on their face. Not 1 year, not 2 years, but basically it seems every year since then. They've had a couple of great years, Jaden Daniels in there, but at least for the Ed Orgeron tenure, he wins a national championship and his foot immediately comes off the gas. and he doesn't do the things that he needs to do to consistently have that program winning titles over and over and over again. I don't think Curt Cignetti is cut from the same cloth as that. I think once he won his first, he got a taste of blood, and he just wants more. So, in my eyes, going into the season, Indiana, yes, they're still going to maintain their high level of performance, competing for playoff spots and national championships. Now, they do only have 50% of their production returning from last year, which puts them about 52 nationally. That's not terrible. It's obviously not great, but you're trying to fill the gaps of the people that you left and the players that left you to go to the league or that graduated. And it's a lot of holes to plug. It's a lot of holes to fill. The biggest one that they did fill was Josh Hoover coming in from TCU at quarterback. I was listening to a show earlier, and I didn't know that Josh Hoover was actually the returning career passing yards leader in college football right now out of active quarterbacks. So of all the quarterbacks in college football, he has the most passing yards in his career. And Curt Cignetti got him. And we all know what Curt Cignetti does whenever he has older, experienced players. So we'll see how that how that turns out. I think Sig still got it, obviously, but I think he still got the fire, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I think he's still got the fire to go and compete for and win national championships, and he's still waking up every day pushing towards that. Finally, the third storyline that I'm wanting to follow in this 2026 season is the Lane Kiffin versus Pete Golding. I don't even know what to call it. It's the Kiffin versus Golding fest. LSU fans and Ole Miss fans both, and I'm an LSU fan, so I feel like I kind of get to say this, but it hurts to say. They've both been insufferable for the last 8 months or so. Ever since Lane Kiffin takes the LSU job, Ole Miss fans attacking LSU fans and everything LSU does. LSU fans going back and attacking everything that Ole Miss does. And really, I'm just ready for football to be played because I think the time for talking is over for everybody, and everybody is ready for Week 3 in Oxford to come, where Lane Kiffin walks in to Oxford all over again. We'll see what happens there. It's going to be a fun and interesting time. If you aren't privy, here's the backstory. Lane Kiffin goes to Ole Miss. He does such a great job that they make a documentary on him from ESPN, talking about how he needed Ole Miss more than Ole Miss needed him. He needed the time over there to be able to redevelop himself and all of that. And Ole Miss fans are endeared towards Lane Kiffin. And all of a sudden, Brian Kelly gets fired at LSU. And Lane Kiffin, his name starts getting brought up around that circle. He got brought up around the Florida circles and around other coaching searches in years prior, but he never went anywhere. Well, this year, it seems like that sentiment had changed just a little bit because a lot of really high-profile jobs were open. Ole Miss fans want him to stay at Ole Miss. Obviously, they love the guy. He has taken Ole Miss from a program that was consistently in that 6-6 to 8-4 range every year, and he made them perennial 10-game winner every single year. Fighting for playoff spots, obviously they get to the playoff last year. Right before the playoffs last year, he ends up taking the LSU job, making Pete Golding, who was the defensive coordinator, become the interim head coach and go into the playoffs with him as their head coach, essentially, as Lane Kiffin takes the LSU job. At that point, Ole Miss fans are absolutely pissed at him. They don't want to talk about him or to him anymore. Pete Golding is their guy, but they're still taking shots at Kiffin as every chance that they get. Essentially, we get to a point now where the rivalry between LSU and Ole Miss could not be any bigger. It could not be any more nasty. They could not have anything else between them that would make them hate each other more. So Week 3 in Oxford, again, it's going to be a movie. It's going to be a cinema. But that's not where the story is going to end. The story, I don't think, is going to end this year even. It's going to end in years to come. But the question is Pete Golding and Ole Miss going to finish the year ahead of LSU and Lane Kiffin? Because if so, Ole Miss fans have a point to stand on where they say, you made the wrong decision, you went to the wrong spot. If Lane Kiffin comes in and makes the playoffs in year one and Ole Miss underachieves and misses with Golding, Lane Kiffin and LSU fans have every right to go back to the Ole Miss fans and say, hey, you were wrong. He made the right decision. He came here for a reason. So this is going to be week after week after week. Any loss that comes up, pointing fingers, laughing emojis, everything's going to come out of that. Anytime that wins happen or big wins, it's going to be a lot of celebration from these teams. So I'm very excited to see and just intrigued in seeing who's going to come out at the top of that at the end of this year. And again, I don't think this year is going to be the end of that story by any means.